Okay, so as I mentioned, hopefully we can identify our very own definition of good death. That's very, very important in preparing for our own good death. And secondly, hopefully our experience and some of the studies, we can share some of the tips on how we can actually prepare for good death for us or for anyone's our loved one. So I would like to check in with Sandra. What do you see from this picture?
Well, I definitely see that living couple, but behind that living couple, there's this big elephant in the room. So, what do you want to share with us? What is that elephant in the room?
Exactly.
Yeah. What
Thanks,
is?
Sandra. Yeah. So if you can see clearly, actually not so clear. So there's an elephant in the room. That's the subject we would want to talk and focus on today.
Yeah, I'm very curious.
And
Yeah.
yeah, so a lot of time, these are the topics that we know, but we don't want to really talk about that, which is death. Yeah, death it remain as a taboo, and it's very, very difficult to talk about. Yeah, that's why I think today, since we have all of us here, we are so ready to talk about that. I'm glad that we actually acknowledge this elephant in the room. Yeah, why do we need to talk about that? Hopefully, these slides also helping us to actually thinking about that. We have been preparing ourselves or our children or our loved one since born. We celebrate the baby shower. We look for the infant care, child care, good school, from preschool to adolescence. Every major life event we have been actually planning ahead so much, and we looking forward, and even we celebrate the successes even until old age. Recently we have been talking so much about we call it active aging or even successful aging to be able to age in place. But then how about our final stage in our life? It sounds like remain unknown territory, or we don't know how to explore this subject. This kind of strange, right? I mean, we have been planning so much in our life or our loved one, but then we don't really at the end we don't really think about and or even plan ahead. So may I invite you to ponder about these questions? What is a good death? So to make it more interactive, I hope that I don't really, all the time dominate this conversation. May I invite you to actually take up your phone or even a laptop to go to these slides. So go to www.menti.com and key in the code at the top of, of the page. And to think about that, what's a good death to you? There's no right or wrong. So it's your own opinion. So actually you can submit even multiple times if you have thinking along, there's more ideas. All right. See more peaceful old age. Already placed, top place, appropriate for the final departure. Less pain, accepted, comfortable. Not alone. I don't really understand. Not alone means because you cannot die together, right? So or probably you want to be accompanied in the journey, having no regrets. All right, no regrets. I see some repeated one. At peace, relief, inspiring others. Interesting. All right, all right, all right. Love springs forth after closure. No more pain. So pain also is one of the key. Peace, regret, no regret. Preparing for will, remember for good things, good memories. All right. Okay. Shall I stop here? Okay, you can see some sort of repetitive here. Thanks again for your sharing. And also, you can probably also see others' response as well. It could be similar. There's actually there's no, as I say, no right or wrong definition, and also probably there's no single definition of good death. As well as when I came across different definition from, especially from Western studies, yeah, they only could give some key definition similarity, but when it comes to individual, there's still varies. Yeah, we can see that's actually in a lot of similarity, like finding closure, peaceful, comfortable, less pain, proper place, and no regrets. All this definition. Absolutely right. Absolutely right. So what happens actually in our local studies? There's a news from today's actually published in 2019 July. So what happens actually when Singaporeans think about good death? Actually, majority, just as an example to illustrate what good death is. There's some opinion about good death should be dying at home and surrounded by loved one, as some mentions, right? Not alone. But then in the study in these 2 years, 2014, actually found out 77% of Singaporeans wanted to die at home, which is no surprise, I guess, in our culture. Home is the considered as the most comfortable place. But then in 2017, another studies to contrast with this, actually close to 70% this sold in hospital, nursing home, or charitable institution. That means in non-familiar, non-home environment. So that means it's actually less than 1/4 of us actually this sold in at home. It's quite a very contrast what about our preference and actually what happened in reality. So these studies are conducted by IPS, Babbage, and call for actually a urgent look at this reality gap, a huge gap, have much more to do. So looking into this study in 2014, right, they also highlighted actually Singaporeans have growing desire for that conversation, called dialogue. Uh, but then actually only half of the respondents have talked about death or dying with loved ones. And seven of them, 71% actually, you saw the need for a whole nation-wide conversation on death and dying. That's probably why we had this talking today. Yeah. But then what happened in 2019, the latest study by Living Well End of Life Care Policy in Singapore, as what published in just now the newspaper. Actually, there are few key issues highlighted. More pertaining to this talk is actually they identify barriers to talk about one's final days. Actually, it's involved some of because of the some superstitions about talking about the death, and also have some taboo, thinking that to talk about death, that means we will actually reduce the patient views to live. Yeah, of course I mean, rationally, we know that's not the case. And also, there's some family interference in decision on healthcare when that coming, yeah, especially when encounter terminally ill patient. There's some clinical experience also found out that actually have different opinion by different family members in relating to patient brief. So there's some key recommendation, a few, but for today we want to highlight this. So there's also encouraging us to actually have more conversation about death even earlier, not waiting until the dying moment. So the key is how do we hold or even start this conversation about death or even about the care. Just now you all mentioned, you're so concerned about the comfort level, less pain, the environment. So right now, I would like to pass this session to Central, actually to introduce us a few tools actually to help us to have these conversations. Central, I
Uh,
pass it to you.
Thank you, Mankin, so much for initiating this conversation. I think earlier when you had the poll and what is the definition of good death, it is different for everybody, right? But I do see that peace and painless and no regrets are a few of the more popular choices. And in order to plan for a good death, it can be done through AAWL, which we call all. So today we have invited our guest speaker from Sheng Hong Welfare Social Service, Ms. Sarah Tan. She is the ED, and they run a Life Point, which is a one-touch point for end of life matters. So Sarah, I will be in conversation with you on all AAWL. So the next slide, please. So what is all? All is advanced care planning, advanced medical directives, will planning, and lasting power of attorney. This hopefully the tools after conversing with Sarah will help you all to understand more the differences between these instruments, and maybe can help you to plan for that good death. Okay, next slide. So advanced care planning, as I know it, it's a voluntary process, which means that you can choose to do it or not to do it, but it's really a conversation piece about your future healthcare plans between yourself and the healthcare providers. So, which means that it gives you a platform to converse and explore your goals and values on how you want to maybe look at how you want to plan for the healthcare providers to care for you, or even at a time when you lose your mental capacity. Sarah, can I know that for LifePoint, you're administrating the advanced care planning, and maybe you'd like to share it with us. How does one actually go about the application, and what is it like?
Hi, Sandra. Good evening to everyone as well. Thank you for this opportunity to be able to come here to share a little bit of this very important piece of work that we are doing right now, is helping to advocate for end-of-life preparation. Yeah, like what Mankin has earlier on shared, that a lot of time we plan for different stages of our life very effectively, right? From childbirth to marriage, to career, to school, all these things, even retirement, all these things. But a lot of times that we didn't really make plans for how we want to close the life chapter that we have. Although we know that it's a matter of time that all of us are going towards that direction, right? So at LifePoint, we actually did a lot of public education, helping the public to understand the various tools that we can use to better plan about this process. So advanced care planning is like what you mentioned, is actually a conversation that we will have facilitated by a trained facilitator to help the person to understand, to reflect on the values that this person have. And based on the values, they can actually understand what is the meaning of good death, what is the meaning of good life, and how would they want to make choices in the events that they have healthcare issue, how do they want to be cared for. That will be aligned with their own personal values. And by doing that, and able to document down their wishes and make known to the loved ones, like the family members, all these things, that will be useful for the future, that in the event if the person actually not able to speak for himself or herself, the loved ones will know the wishes, and also the medical care team will also know the wishes, and they will be able to use this document as a guide for decision of how to provide the proper care for this person.
Yeah.
So that is the whole purpose of advanced care planning. And in terms of doing advanced care planning, nowadays we can actually do it in the hospital, we can do it in the polyclinic, we can even do it in the many of the social service organizations, like LifePoint is one of them. Yeah, even some of the family service centers, they also provide this service. Yeah.
So I guess it's very important if one chooses to do the advanced care planning, you would need to actually think of the person whom they can trust to do
Yep.
this bit for them, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
So in advanced care planning, that person have to first think of what he or she wants first, right? And they also have to identify someone that they can trust, someone who knows them well. In the event when the person no longer able to speak, then this particular spokesperson can also speak on the behalf of you. Yeah, to be able to share with the doctor what you want. Yeah. So so having a spokesperson, normally we will identify like your relatives or your family members, or even some of your close friends that you can consider. Yeah.
And maybe correct me if I'm wrong, that this whole process is actually free of charge, or do we need to be charged for this process? And also that, I guess it's like, this conversation, you can actually change your plans every now and then, that you
Yes,
can
yes,
actually
yes,
update the plan,
yes.
right? Yeah.
Well, I think most of the service provider, most likely they will provide a very accessible service. At LifePoint, we actually give it free of charge. Yeah. Whether hospital, whether polyclinic, they will charge or not, I think you can easily find out from them. But I think it's very, very likely that will be, even if it's charged, will be just a very small token. Yeah. And for ACP, in short, we call ACP, right?
Yeah.
This particular document, you can actually change along the way, because when we grow older, our situation might change. So our needs also might change, our desire or our thinking might change. So that's why we can change our plan as well. Yeah.
Okay, so maybe we talk about advanced medical directives.
Mm-hmm.
So, as far as I know, this is a legal binding document. So it's a document that we signed in advance to inform our healthcare provider that we do not wish to have further medical interventions. Like, if like we need a life-sustaining equipment to support our life, so we choose to say whether we want to do it or not do it, to express our wishes for that. And this is a legal document that we sign with a healthcare provider. Is that right, Sarah?
Yes, yes. For advanced medical directive, we normally call it AMD. It is a legal document that you will be able to make it through the doctor. the doctor has to be the one who help you to certify that you are in the sound mind, that you make such a decision. And for the AMD, it basically has a very clear focus, meaning that it's like in the event when you become like terminally ill or in a situation whereby your recovery is very minimum, that you actually indicated very clearly that you do not want any life-sustaining treatment. Yeah. So this particular document, the doctor has to sign as a witness. And another maybe your friend or your family member can add as another witness as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I think there's a question in the chat which I think it aligns with a lot of people. It's like for advanced medical directive is a legal document, so we know that it's legally kept somewhere. And what about ACP?
Say again. I can't hear you. Sorry.
The advanced care planning, because it's not a legal document. So where are these documents stored, or where can someone
Yes.
actually look at?
Yes. For the ACP, although it is not a legal binding document, the document actually will be stored at the National Electronic Record. Yeah. It will be kept with MOH that side. Yeah. Whereas the AMD will be also registered under the registry, and it will be kept at MOH as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I hope that answers some questions. So maybe can we go into the will, the AAW right now, will planning. I guess this is more familiar with most of us. A will is always, we need to hire a lawyer to draft up the will. And then, of course, it contains instruction on how we want to distribute our assets, like our property, finance, personal possession, your favorite jewelry or whatever. So it's about carrying out your intended wishes after your death, right? And of course, I think will it's definitely I think the charges are different by different lawyers, and it also depends on how complicated your will is. So so I think this is something that is very familiar to most of us. All right. The other one is A
LPA.
yeah,
LPA, lasting power of attorney, is it?
yeah. So I also understand that this is also a legal binding document, and this is also has something to do with appointing a donee to act on behalf when someone lost the mental capacity, all right? And again, that you need to choose someone that you trust, right? Yeah. So maybe you want to tell us what's the difference between drawing up a will and lasting power of attorney. Do we have to do both of them, or
Yep. I think, Sandra, like what you mentioned, both the will and the LPA, both of them are legal document. Yeah. The main difference is the will can only become effective when the person passed away, right? Like what you say, the will is a document that stated clearly how a person want to distribute whatever assets this person has after the person passed on. Yeah, who will receive whatever assets this person has, how it will be distributed, all these things. Whereas for the LPA, it's actually meant to give a protection or a proper document to guide someone who can become a decision maker for you when you lose your mental capacity, but you're still alive, all right? The person hasn't passed on. When you're still alive, but you cannot make decision anymore because you have lost the mental capacity. So for the LPA, will only become activated when a person lost mental capacity, but is still alive. Yeah.
so that's the difference.
Yeah.
So may I ask you, Sarah, that for someone who may not have any donee or trusted donee, or even like next of kin or siblings, there may be people who actually doesn't have any more family members. What can they do then?
Okay, maybe I just explain a little bit the donor and the donee first. Okay, donor meaning that let's say I want to make a LPA, I become a donor. Okay, I will call a donor myself. The person who make the LPA will be called donor. And if I appoint someone else who can become my decision maker, that person will be called a donee. Let's say maybe I appoint Sandra, you become my donee. In the event if I lost mental capacity, you can make decision for me. So Sandra, you become my donee. All right? Yeah. So that the difference between a donor and a donee, I hope you can understand first. Now you're asking me that, let's say if who can become my donee, right? Yeah. Normally this donee is someone that I can trust, is very important. And this donee is old enough, at least 21 years old and above, all right? And this donee is not a bankrupt person. This donee is having a sound mind, all right? Because that person the donee must be able to have the sound mind in order to make decision for me when I lost mental capacity, all right? Yeah. And the donee, when I choose a donee, I must understand that this is a very important power that I give to someone else, because when I lose mental capacity, I'm totally depend on this person to make decision for me. So I have to be quite sure that this person will be able to make decision for me for my best interest. Yeah. So it has to be someone that I can trust, someone that know me rather well. Yeah. So that is important. Yeah. Now, generally speaking, we can find someone that we can trust, whether it's my family members or friends or close friends or relatives, all these things, right? But I think we also have seen that sometimes some people cannot find a close person, will be maybe no next of kin available, no children, or even don't have a spouse or a close friend that they can trust. Okay, so in the event like this, they can actually consider to appoint a professional, yeah, to become their donee. So a professional donee will be someone who can act upon for you when you lose a mental capacity. But for such professional donee, normally they will be the one who has been so-called like accredited by the government. Normally, the government is the Office of Public Guardian who will oversee this. Yeah. So this professional donee is someone who has been trained, who has been certified. All right. And when you engage a professional donee versus if you engage having your family members to act as a donee, the difference is you have to pay for a service fee when you ask for a professional donee for the service. Whereas your family members, you generally will not need to pay for your family members to act as your donee. Yeah. So this is the general difference.
I see. So we can actually appoint a deputyship
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
actually act on our behalf.
Not so much deputyship is the donee, because you still have the mental capacity, right? So when you appoint someone, when you are having a mental capacity, that person is your donee. Yeah. And you mentioned about deputy, right? Deputy is only, we only appoint a deputy by the court.
Oh, I see.
Now, the situation is, if when a person is having mental capacity, where if you have appointed someone as your donee, so you use LPA, right? You make an LPA, right? But in case if a person did not make an LPA while the person is having mental capacity, and then one fine day, this person lost mental capacity without an LPA, all right? So the family members might not be able automatically become the decision maker for this person. What the family members need to do is to go through a court application procedure to apply for a court order in order to become the deputy of this person who lost the mental capacity. All right. So deputyship is something that only the court can appoint. So the court can appoint a family members to become the deputy, or the court can also appoint a professional to become a deputy to act on behalf. All right. And the difference is like if go through the court procedure, one is can be very, very long process, all right? Secondly, is like it can be a very expensive process, okay? Because you can imagine that the lawyer have to file the documents, have to go through a lot of procedures, all these things. So the lawyer fees will be there. So that's why I think it will be helpful for people to understand the value of making an LPA while you still have the capacity and you're able to find someone who can add for you. Then compared to you don't have an LPA, then you leave it for the court to appoint a deputy and you have to pay a fee, a high fee for that. So you can weigh the pros and cons for that. Yeah.
You see. Okay, thank you for sharing. I think right now, the Office of Public Guardian, it's also giving, people who apply for LPA free until March 2021. So I would encourage all the participants here to go and look at the Google for the Office of Public Guardian for
Yeah.
lasting power of attorney. And if they can, do an application. Right now, it is actually free of charge with the OPG. So yeah, try to make the effort to do that. I think that would be great.
Can I just make some clarification regarding this aspect?
Yeah, sure.
Application fee to the OPG, yes, it is free, all right, until next year, March, all right? And, but when we do a LPA, we will need a certifier, all right? Meaning that after we have a document down our wishes, we have appointed a donee, all these things, right? Because it is a legal document, so the legal document must be certified by a lawyer, all right? So, or sometimes it can be a doctor, okay? So the lawyer will charge the fees, all right? You might also want to look out for places that there will be quite a number of places you can make an LPA, you can go through lawyer, you can also go through the community organization like LIPON to do LPA, yeah? So basically, the lawyer's fees, you will still have to pay a bit, okay? Yeah.
Okay.
And then the other thing is like for the LPA, there's also the difference between the LPA Form 1, LPA Form 2, all right? Yeah. So for Form 1 is a general LPA, meaning that it will give general powers to the donee to cover your personal welfare, to cover the management of your financial aspects, all these things, yeah? Whereas the Form 2 will be a more customized document, which will definitely need a lawyer to help you to draft. So the fees will be different. Yeah.
I see. Thank you for that clarification. I don't have any more questions. Afterwards, we will have more Q&A at the end of the session. So
Sure.
I will sorry. Yeah, we have 2 slides of helpful resources, a listings of advanced care planning and how you can go about doing your AMD, the AAWL that we're talking about. Should the participants need these resources, please do write us a request for it at the end. We'll provide you the email to write to. So yeah. So Mankin, I hand you back the floor.
Thank you, Sandra and Sarah. Yeah, hopefully, the very, very fruitful conversations about this very practical and also legal planning about how we can actually design or even plan before this final day is coming. And one of the similarity or commonality, I actually found that all these 4 planning, actually we need to really do it while we are conscious, while we are alive. Yeah. So to tie back to the very beginning, why we see there are such a huge gap in terms of our preference and reality happen in our society. Also because we don't really talk and you don't even plan before. And it's such that, you know, we leave the decision, this very, very important decision, to our family members or to medical personnel. So a lot of time there's such a difference in terms of one's preference and reality. So next, I'd like to also to make a contrast. What happened? What's the consequences? You know, possibility that the someone who having a good death and one who did not have. Yeah. So for one who really actually has a good death, you know, possibility the surviving family actually feel whole, complete, and even celebrate or happy for the deceased to have a good departure. It's not uncommon. It's often seen even during my clinical experience, you know, during the briefing for with the survivors or families, and they are actually unashamed, you know, to actually journey with the death one, and also as what you mentioned, with no regrets. Yeah, not only the patient but the family as well. In contrast, so what happened if let's say one who actually did not have a good death? Actually, a lot of time, the survivors, the family members or the loved one actually feel uneasy, discomforted, even guilty for having not making certain decisions or making some not according to the deceased will, or even ashamed, you know, to acknowledge the loss. Some even feel frustrated or feel cheated and unfulfilled as well. So one more questions. Because of time, we don't really have a lot of interactions. I invite you also to take note of this question, not to have uh, absolute answer, but more to as a reminder for our daily life. Why? Because you will have these questions. Maybe some of you not you know unfamiliar. You know, watching some movie, you know, or some documentary. If let's say you only have this miracle question, even when you have 30 days or 60 days or 1 year left to live, you know, what would you do, or how would you spend? So the idea of living like you are actually you are dying can be eye opening considerations. Why so? Because it will help you to think upon who would you want to spend time with, what you spend time doing, and even what's your priority in your life. It helping you constantly to process and to contemplate on your priority and focus on what's important, what matters to you or your family members. If you know their preference, if you know their values in life, and it also provide us a chance to see the crystal clear the truth, what your life is about, by asking ourselves these questions. You know, how would I spend with the limited time frame in my life? So this also means following our passions and also embracing each moment and living life to the fullest as well. Yeah. So when we have all this, our whole life ahead of us, it can be tough to accept this perspective. Yeah, that's what in the very very beginning slide, you know, we are preparing for so much. You know, we plan. You know, we have so many years ahead. So what I want to do, you know, we procrastinating. So, but then we fail to actually prioritize. You know, what if let's say I only have limited time? You know, we wouldn't want to waste them, and we want to do focus on the priority. And also one of the things besides the legal and practical part, we also want to focus on what's important to us, especially in our culture, you know, our families, our close friends. You know, there's this actually this called 7 vital tasks of life review. These 7 tasks actually derived from Vijay Prayar Coins, who is a Stanford Palliative Care Education and Training Program Director. So they propose these 7 tasks actually to help us to actually to to reflect on our key life experiences, also helping us to achieve, as you all want, a peace. When it comes to deep reflection, what is important, relationship we want to cultivate. You know, so to this will be actually focus on next section. So I just want to have everyone to actually run through these 7 tasks. So we will talk more, delve into it more in next sections when we talk about dying moment. So acknowledge the persons in your life and to remember the good memories, the significant one or significant events in your life, and also to apologize or forgive those who actually hurt you, and as well as to express our gratitude to those who actually help us, who actually who care for us, and also to express our love to them as well, and we care for them. And the last one, the goodbye, will be talk more in next section as well. And one of the things also we all have seen that one of the key definition of good death is without regret or no regret. So this author, Bronnie Ware, who is actually an Australian nurse, palliative nurse, who actually spent quite several years in working with dying patients. So throughout her clinical experience, she sum up those common regrets, in her clinical experience with the dying patients. So it's also helped us to ponder upon what are those top 5 regrets. Of course, we need to also ask ourselves what's our regrets. Well, because these are some of the clinical observation. It may not be true to every one of us. Yeah, some of the common we can see, usually people who have want to live life true to oneself, to realize our dream, to realize what we want to do, but not the expectation of others to us. Yeah. Some will say, I wish I hadn't worked so hard. That means we want to enjoy life as well, to balance kind of the work-life balance. Yeah. And thirdly, also have the courage to express, feeling, as we just now also mentioned, to express the gratitude, to even to ask for forgiveness. We have the courage to do so, to admit our mistakes, to admit our vulnerability, as well as to also, to express our care, our concern to others. And fourth, to connect with friends or family members who actually significant to us. Yeah. And the last one, to make ourselves happier, to do what we actually enjoy, but not just treat it as a task or routine, repeat again and again every day. But really something we enjoy. So to ask ourselves, what's at this point in time, what's our greatest regret? So then what? What would you want? What would you want to do or take a first step, to make a change before we die? So to sum up the whole sections, to also helping us to think about the good death is not simply just about getting all these documents done, as well as we also want to also this company is very important to make some planning, to prepare, to design our final phase of our life. But the good death is also means good life as well. So it's actually interconnected. It's not a separate independent phase. Yeah. So we want to also to contemplate in this our very moment. What do we do in order to make our every moment meaningful, well, so that when the day comes, we are prepared. We feel calm, no regret, fulfilled. So that's our message to every of us. And this is a very beautiful quote from Robert Kastenbaum, who is a professor emeritus from a very well-known deaf expert. All right. So we go to the Q&A. We still have some time. We can take some questions. All right. How widely train healthcare personnel on the topic? Since some of the department will be exposed routinely.
I actually answered some of the questions in the chat already, but sure I can still
Yep.
repeat here. Most of the hospitals, right, the medical social workers or some of the nurses are actually very trained in ACP conversation. So so when you approach them, if you do have a healthcare provider, if you approach them, they would be able to administer this ACP, and they also have access to the system to key in the documents. But of course, you can also approach LifePoint or any other social service agencies that will be able to help you to do this piece of work as well. So you
Maybe
can.
I just add a bit,
Sure,
Sandra.
sure.
Yeah. I think if you're interested to do the ACP, and then if you're looking for a place whereby you can do ACP, you can actually go to the either LifePoint portal, or else you go to the Living Matters portal, or even you Google to the few words advanced care planning. You can easily find out that in Singapore where are the places you can do. All right. In the community, what you are doing is the general ACP. That means it's the basic level ACP, because you're still healthy, you are still mobile. So you probably, your wishes can be more broad in a sense. But if you are having some kind of like chronic illness or some disease, you probably want to do it in the hospital, because there will be disease specific kind of like ACP document as well. Yeah. Then the doctor will be able to guide you along. Even some of the nurses, they are well trained in ACP, they can guide you along to facilitate the conversation as well.
Okay. Thank you, Sarah. Do you want to answer question 2 and 3 as well? And I think they're all related, 2, 3, 4.
Can give an example of how one individual's ACP different from the others. Well, I think everyone's ACP is different because every individual's wishes is different. Yeah. Everyone's can be difference in the values, can be difference from the life experience. Okay, a lot of times our values is shaped by our life experience. All right. So because of that, so the wishes also can be different. We have come across like some people who make it known very clearly that, you know, I don't want any aggressive treatment, no so-called like those kind of like you know, the put in a lot of chips in the body that kind of thing. Yeah, I just want to have a minimum pain. All right, I would prefer to die naturally. So they stated it very clearly. And some of them, they stated like, oh, in the last moment, I want who and who with me, you know, I want to be at home, or I want to be in a hospital. I want the environment like this, like that. So some people, they will prefer the comfort, all right, less pain. But we have also seen others, they make other choices. It's like, I want to prolong my life for as long as possible, no matter what. All right, because I believe that maybe by that time that medical technology is advanced enough to save me, you know. So everyone's choice can be different. So in the ACP is a very individual kind of like document. No two ACP are the same. Yeah. Okay, and then you're asking like mental capacity. Does it also include those who have mental illness? Now, in terms of the definition of mental capacity, how to decide whether this person has mental capacity or not having mental capacity, normally we will require the certification by a psychiatrist, a certified, a qualified doctor. They have to make the proper assessment and to produce a medical report. Okay, with the medical report, then only only that doctor or the psychiatrist can say whether this person has mental capacity or not. All right. So we laymen cannot decide. Yeah. This ACP is not a legal document. Who will keep the document? I think, Sandra, you have answered that, right?
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
It's under the MOH electronic system. I think that all the structured hospitals have that system, so the
Yeah.
ACP will key in there. So
Yeah.
should anyone be in any of the hospitals, they can actually retrieve the records from the system.
Yeah.
Oh, there's some more questions coming in. Yeah, so I try to read it out. So some would ask, why does deaf literacy seems to not be common knowledge?
Why deaf literacy is not common knowledge?
Yeah.
Well, if you know how to use this phrase, deaf literacy, you probably know it rather well already.
Yeah.
I think the general public normally might not know even this phrase. All right. I think just like Mankin earlier mentioned, it is the elephant in the room. All right. Although everyone know that it exists, but nobody want to talk about it. Yeah, because that is such a taboo subject. And some people believe that by talking about it, I might invite death earlier than it should be, you know. So there's a lot of belief system, a lot of culture that make us avoid the subject, all right? And normally when we associate death, it's always pain, always like suffering, always like very sadness, you know, tears. A lot of times it's a very negative kind of scenario, yeah. Oftentimes we look at that as if it's like there's the end of all I have. So talking about loss, right? Talking about leaving behind the loved ones, all these things. So as human beings, we tend to look for happiness. We tend to crave for pleasure, joy, rather than, you know, nobody want to like embrace sadness, all these things, right? So that's why I think generally people try to avoid. It is a very difficult and uneasy subject.
And to add on to Sarah, also it involves a lot of different levels because one is the societal, cultural, and religious part. Another one is also our whole system, policy, and education as well. So lack of knowledge development, research about it, and no policy making also to helping us to cultivate this kind of research and education as well. So why not we also look at other questions also related to SCP. One asks, where can we get training in Singapore to be a SCP facilitator?
Well, ACP facilitator, generally they are professionals. They are employed in hospital or they're employed in social service organization that they can get the proper training, which is offered by the MOH AIC, or the Agency of Integrative Care, right? So generally it's a trained professional that will receive such training. Yeah.
All right, thanks. And one question is there any organization in Singapore conduct workshop or talk about good death? We are doing it right now, right? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. It seems like not widely educating to general public. Yeah. Also can take a look at also Life Point. Yeah, where Sarah came from.
Life Point every month also have such talks. So please go. You can visit their website and take a look.
And thanks for this question. So stay put. We will also introduce some of the good death related talk and workshop as well later. Yeah. And one more, considering our Asian context where family views are often taken into account, what happens when the patient preference in ACP conflicts with family's preference?
Well, in ACP conversation, the facilitator will facilitate the person to share the wishes based on the experience, the values, all this thing, right? Besides the person, normally we will involve that person will actually involve their loved ones. That's called the spokesperson, right? The healthcare spokesperson. So this person normally is the family members. So it is very important that while we still can, when we have the mental capacity, we let our family know what is our wishes. Yeah. So that will help to reduce the chances of dispute, disagreement, all these things. Because we also have seen a lot of cases, it's like when the person didn't make the wishes known, no ACP done, no LPA done, all these things. And the person lost the consciousness, get into coma, suddenly have a stroke, cannot talk, cannot say anything anymore. Then the family members do not know what to do, all right? And all of them might be having the best interest of the patient in the heart, but everyone might have a different preference. One might say this, one might say that, you know. Let's say, for example, one might say that, oh, you must get the whatever treatment necessary. But the other person might feel that, oh, cannot, because they will cause a lot of suffering to the patient. So there will be a lot of disagreement happening. So I think the best thing is like, while we're still alive and having the sound mind, we try our best to share with our loved ones what we want. Yeah.
I guess that's why also we introduce this SCP and others plan, so that you can actually get a very trained person to facilitate you or the patient and family into discussions, and they have been trained to do such a conversation, difficult conversations.
Correct.
Yep. And one more question is about Yong Hao asked, how about private hospital and ACP?
Well, generally, I'm not too sure whether there's any trained facilitator from the private hospital. Yeah, as far as I know, currently the training is done to professionals who are in the hospital as well. I mean, the restructured hospital, as well as the community organizations. Yeah. But whether there's any private doctor who are being trained, I'm not too sure about that. Yeah.
I do know that some of the GPs actually also conduct this conversation as well, but not all. It's not widely known. But some of the GP, at least in the West region, I know that actually do conduct such conversation because they want to advocate for good death as well. So and they also and they of course qualified to do that because they can certify whether someone has got the mental capacity to do ACP or not. So yeah, some GPs, some private GP has actually provide this service. Yeah.
That's very nice. But I don't know whether they will charge the fees or not. Yeah.
I do think so, like I do think so. They, but I
All
don't.
right. One last questions. Yeah. Can LPA donee make decisions pertaining to ACP matters in the absence of a ACP?
Say again, I don't quite get it.
Can LPA donee make decisions pertaining to ACP matters in the absence of a ACP?
No. I think it's not possible, because ACP is done by a person. Okay, let's say I want to make an ACP. All right, I get Sandra to be my spokesperson. Okay, when I make an ACP, I'm still of sound mind. All right, so Sandra become my spokesperson. Okay, but if I lost mental capacity, yeah, and just now I say that Sandra also is my donee. All right, so the donee cannot make an ACP for me anymore because I am no longer having the sound mind. Okay, yeah. So a donee can never make an ACP for another person. Yeah. Only you yourself can make an ACP for yourself.
Yeah. So one more key message here. So every one of us must do the LPA, ACP, AMT wheel while we are conscious, while we have a sound mind. Yeah.
I think that all these documents, basically the gist of it is like, you take back the control for your decision while you can. All right, rather than to leave this decision-making power to someone else, and that person might not know exactly what you want. All right? Yeah. So while you have the capacity, while you can make a choice, you can make a decision, make this decision for yourself. To the best, you are the best person to make the best decision for yourself. Yeah, nobody know you better than yourself. So that is the basic assumption. Yeah.
All right, thanks everyone for the Q&A. Let's go back to this, our final part. We introduced to you as this program by Vidya Grief Support Program, right? So one of the also asking where to get such a talk or workshop about good death, you know. So please follow and stay tuned to our program. So our grief support program have a variety of the services from counseling to group work to even offer to school-based grief support, and we hold public education talks and workshops as well. Like this, we talk about good death and following up another 2 sections in this series about let's talk about bereavement. And we also provide training and support for profession and community as well. So if you still have unanswered inquiry or any further idea you want to let us know, please contact us at following contact by email or go to browse our website www.vidya.org.sg. And if you are concerned with any issue with pertaining to your safety, please also call this hotline, National Care Hotline, via Counseling Helpline or SOS as well. All right. So last this my mental health website you also can browse. The COVID-19 pandemic can take an emotional toll. Learn to manage your mental well-being, and if you need support, we show you how and where to seek help. So go to this stayprepared.sg/mymentalhealth for further info about how to take care of our own and our loved one mental health. And yeah, so this is not the last, but following next Thursday, same time, so we will have our second session of this series. Let's talk about bereavement. So next session, we will focus on the dying moments, as well as the third sections, coping with bereavement. So we will focus also on after the death and what kind of bereavement support. So you need more info, please go to our website again. And also, we also offer one more grief support group in November. In total of 5 sections, so we'll be held it on every Wednesday, 8 to 9 p.m. as well. So go to register yourself if you have gone through certain losses, or introduce to someone you know who have gone through losses recently, and also helping them to actually to get support from those who have similar experience as well. All right, so I appreciate you could help us to actually improve our program by filling out this feedback form. So you can go to this teamurl.com or scan the QR code. And our actually admin support also will type the link in the group chat. You can actually click the link and then just spend 1 or 2 minutes to complete the feedback form. We'll highly appreciate your valuable feedback. And even suggest, what would you want to learn or key to know more in specific about grief and loss. And feel free to contact us at following contacts if you have further questions or you want to share certain ideas.
Thank you very much for attending the talk. I had a quick glance. I'm glad that some of you actually appreciate such talks. And I do think that although death is, the last thing we do, but it's really, planning and having a good death, planning for a good death is something that we all can do much, much earlier. All right. So everybody, good evening. Any more questions, please do send us an email if you have any further queries. Right. Thank you very much.